there's demand for soybeans all over the world for all kinds of uses. And each day a person uses about 8/10 of a pound of soybeans, a little over 2,000 soybean seeds. But most people don't realize it because that soybean is taken apart and kind of rebuilt into useful items, whether it's animal feed with protein or the oil for biodiesel or glues. There's just maybe the ink in their newspaper. So you don't realize that you're coming in contact with soybeans every day. So each person uses about 8/10 of a pound of soybeans a day. An acre of soybeans will produce roughly 50 bushels, which would supply the annual needs for about 10 people. So, if you think in terms of a football field being about an acre, so one football field will provide the soybean needs for about 10 people. It takes about 30 seconds to harvest each person's annual needs for soybeans. So every hour means there's 120 people worth of soybeans that I've harvested. The soybeans originated in China, and about 200 years ago they some of them were brought to this country, I think, as packing for material, just to cushion stuff that was being shipped over here. But they found out they would grow here. Well, later on they found out they grow really well in Indiana and Illinois and Iowa, the Corn Belt. Although soybeans are grown in 30 states, this is a great area for growing soybeans. And because we have a very favorable climate with temperatures and adequate rainfall, and the growing season is proper, that just favors Indiana being a great place to grow soybeans. And Delaware County, it's the #1 crop in Delaware County. More acres of soybeans are planted in Delaware County than any other crop, more so than corn. This soybean field, I think you see the rows of soybeans, but about half the soybeans will be consumed in the United States between livestock and industry and human needs. The other half will be exported to Asia, to Europe. So every other row is used in the United States, and every other row is used somewhere else in the world. So about 50% of our soybeans are exported, which, if you think about it, that's great for our balance of trade. It's a positive balance of trade. That means foreign dollars are coming into this country because there's a world demand for protein. Soybeans are great producers of protein, so we are exporting protein to those other countries and having a positive balance of trade doing so. In the simplest terms, the technology hasn't changed in terms of you gently place a seed in the ground and cover it up, and moisture will let it germinate and it'll grow, and you nurture it, provide fertilizer, and keep the weeds out. Well, that's the process, but the way of doing that has changed drastically. When I was a child, my dad had a 2-row planter and increased it to a 4-row planter. We were really jumping up there. Today, I'm using a 24-row planter on my soybeans. So, because there's fewer and fewer farmers all the time, the machinery gets bigger. So the process is no different than what you would do in your garden. It's just that the machines are so much larger, more efficient, faster, more accurate. That's what allows the American farmer to be so productive in growing corn and soybeans. Here's a good example of a soybean plant. So as it continues to grow and sets nodes, and from those nodes come leaves, but at those node sites is where the pods will eventually be. Starts out as a blossom, sometimes purple, sometimes white, but those will eventually be the pods. You can see some little baby pods just starting, but in a few weeks the pods will be very evident as it goes through its growth cycle. One thing that my grandfather couldn't do was plant in no-till. These soybeans were planted into last year's corn stalks, and you can see the corn stalks between the rows of beans. And the neat thing about the corn stalks, they protect the soil from water and wind erosion. So just like putting a protective blanket over the soil, that's what these corn stalks are doing. And eventually they'll break down and release nutrients back to the soybean plant. The #1 threat to our production is probably soil erosion. So the more we can do to keep the soil in the field through techniques like no-till farming, then the more productive this field's going to be. So no-till is a very important part of the future of agriculture. It's a shame my grandparents, my great-grandparents didn't have that technology available to them. We're very productive in what we do, but the exciting thing is we have to be even more productive in the future. We have to grow more food in the next 50 years than we've grown in the last 10,000 to meet the demand of 9 billion people by the year 2050. That's quite a challenge. We're going to have the same amount of land, we get the same amount of sunlight and rainfall, so from that acre of soil we have to double and triple some of our production of corn and soybeans. That's the challenge, and that's what I like about farming is rising to the occasion to make that happen. That's going to be fun.